Transmitter device activated. Coordinates set for Earth 2.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Earth 2 podcast, your weekly exploration of the DC Comics multiverse and the legacy of their Golden Age characters to the Silver and the Bronze Ages of comics. I'm Peter Watson.
And I'm David Steele. Welcome back. Thank you for joining us. I'm very excited, listeners, because this week we return to the pages of the Freedom Fighters.
Yay!
Don't we, Peter?
We certainly do. My God, it seems like ages since we were last here.
Yes, it probably has been. But has it been longer since we did Freedom Fighters than it has been since we did Secret Society? I can't remember. So many of these things, listeners, they'll start blurring into one another after a while.
It's all happening at the same time in 1976 and 1977.
This is true. And as you were saying the other day, because we're kind of doing it sort of, but not quite in publication, but more in chronological series order, it's a bit difficult to stay on top of where we all are in the grander scheme. But anyway, Freedom Fighters issue 6 we're going to do just now. Later on we'll be doing Freedom Fighters issue 7. Issue 6 published on the 26th of October 1976, just a few days before the 4th birthday of our very own Peter Watson.
There you are.
Oh, and Peter's now going to tell us about the cover.
Yes, because we're slightly further back in the timeline, we don't have a DC bullet. We do have the Line of DC Superstars logo. Hunted by the law, hated by the underworld, freedom fighters. In a lovely tricolour blue. 3 different shades of blue there.
Oh, yeah.
It's unusual.
I like the bottom one that's a deeper shade of blue.
Yes. Oh, I think you did this. 30 cents, number 6, February, production codes 30496, approved, of course, by the Comics Code Authority. Welcome to the beginning of the end of the world. Because if the Freedom Fighters don't defeat this demon, the Earth dies screaming. And that's not an understatement, folks, because we have a giant demon monster. Yeah, it's a hideous-faced.
Oh my goodness.
Pink and red and orange and, oh, he's horrible with a big maw of a mouth. It's got flames coming out of it, flames coming out of his eyes, flames in the side of his face. Clue, reference there. He looks hideous and he is giant. He has tentacles, giant pink tentacles.
Oh, heck.
And they are wrapping themselves around some of the Freedom Fighters. Uncle Sam's at the front. Oh, he's trapped. He's trying to burst out. My goodness. His arms are completely pinned.
I'm miming it for the benefit of our YouTube viewers.
He is. It's shocking. The Human Bomb. He's got tentacles wrapped around him. Black Condor has been caught by the waist. The Ray isn't quite caught yet. He's trying to get away, but he's being blasted in the back by a pink lightning beam that's coming out of one of this demon's eyes. Another beam is coming out his other eye, and that's striking the Human Bomb as well.
Gosh.
The guys are in trouble.
Several observations here. Amongst all the scrolling and captioning, there are no less than 2 Doctor Who stories listed here. So obviously there's Underworld and End of the World, so well done.
Yes.
Kenny, you can stop listening now.
Mm-hmm.
And also, The Earth Dies Screaming is either an anticipation of the single by UB40 or a reference to the astonishing early 60s British science fiction movie, which has some weird robot guys in it that are more 10th Planet Cybermen than the 10th Planet Cybermen were.
Gasp. Oh, well.
Yes, watch out, listeners, in case I do a tweet to that effect at some point in the next few days. I must quickly point out, this is the first issue of Freedom Fighters that I bought. Now, I didn't get it at the time. I got it probably late 92, early 93 in Acca on Parney Street. Got a feeling this was before Peter Root opened his back issue space through the other side, but I remember asking John McShane if I could stick it in my file, because I'd seen it in the browser, and by this point this was me starting to investigate the Golden Age DC guys and stuff, and they were like, oh, we don't normally let people put back issues in their file, but nobody's really going to be battering the door down to get issue 6 of Freedom Fighters. So you can put that in your file, so there we go.
Superb.
Hi John McShane, if you're listening. So we're doing a couple of issues today. We're doing issue 6 and issue 7, so this will be part reading, part summarising, but we will kick off by giving you page 1. Along the top, we get shots of each of our heroes, all 6 of our heroes, and they're captioned accordingly.
Uncle Sam, with a question mark at his secret identity. Doll Man, Daryl Dane. Phantom Lady, Sandra Knight. The Ray, Happy Tyrrell. The Black Condor, Thomas Wright. The Human Bomb, Roy Lincoln. Once they fought against the tyranny that enslaved an entire world, and won. But now their battle is much more personal, and the freedom they fight for is their own. And then we got a lovely scroll caption that says, Freedom Fighters. And the captioning continues. Halloween in Rutland, Vermont has always been a special time of year, and October 31st, 1976 is no exception, for it brings to town our fugitive freedom fighters as the clock strikes midnight, tolling the witching hour for the warrior wizards. And then we get the credits for this issue, which are Bob Rozakis, author, Ramona Fraden and Bob Smith, artists, Tony Isabella, story editor, Liz Baruch, colorist, Ben Oda, letterer.
Before we kick off, we'll just quickly mention there, that's another Doctor Who story identified in the caption there. And I'll say, I like the use of witching hour.
Yes.
Because obviously that's one of the DC horror anthologies. That's quite interesting.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But anyway, the story begins properly with a shot of Sam pointing directly at the reader. It seems very much like the I Want You type recruitment posters featuring Sam and Uncle Kitchener and those sort of lads over the years. He's addressing us as he says, I want you to tell me where the Silver Ghost is hiding out. If you don't, I'm just going to have to kick the tar out of you. And over the page, we see that Sam is holding a green goon by the throat, guy in green spandex with a mask and belt, etc. That kind of remind me of the Mirror Master. Do you think that's fair?
Yes, except all green, yep. Two-tone green, love it.
And in response to Sam, the green goon says,
I don't know what you're talking about, you bicentennial bozo. The ghost's been dead for weeks. In fact, you're the guys that killed him.
And as Sam tussles with this head goon, we can see in the background that the Ray and Black Condor are tussling with some other goons, one of whom is carrying a very large bag of cash. As the Ray zaps a couple of guys, Condor flies down towards the guy with the bag of cash. We can see in the background where it's some kind of sporting establishment, lots of people ranging around, all sorts of stuff going on, windows open to encourage people to place their bets. And the fight that's kicking off continues to the next page where we learn that indeed, yes, these lads in green are the former henchmen of the Silver Ghost who are now working independently and at the moment are robbing Yonkers Raceway.
Yonkers.
Which is north of New York City and whose main sport appears to be this weird sort of horse-drawn chariot race type thing. We shall ask our listeners in the States to tell us if this was a thing or not. It looks very odd to our eyes.
It looks familiar, but I don't know where I've seen it before.
Maybe there was an episode of Starsky and Hutch or something.
Maybe. Maybe they rode these traps through like cardboard boxes down an alley. That's what they did.
That'd be amazing, yes. So, as we continue, a few of the Ghost's henchmen steal the places of some of the jockeys and try to get away from Black Condor and the Ray, who are in pursuit, and the Ray even takes a shot of one of the chariots himself. The two heroes manage to take out the Green Goons and return to Uncle Sam, who has conceded that the head Ghost Goon is telling the truth and knows nothing about the whereabouts of the Silver Ghost. With police sirens approaching, Sam, Condor and the Ray take their leave. And there's a cool bit as the Ray drains the lights from the racetrack floodlights, leaving the venue in darkness and everyone unable to see where the heroes have gone.
Uh-huh.
We then cut to the temporary headquarters of the Freedom Fighters, which is the apartment of Martha Roberts, who, of course, we met in the last issue. Things have obviously moved on from issue 5, because then she was just watching them rush off to battle, but they've obviously changed their arrangements, since Dollman is working on a power damper for the human bomb, who is tired of looking like a refugee from an underwater expedition. We've made many comments, obviously, as we've read about how sweaty he must be getting. And after a first test that blows a hole in Martha's kitchen table, Dollman makes an adjustment and the bomb is able to place his hand on the table without causing an explosion. However, he then goes on to further damage the table as he thumps it in satisfaction. At this point, Phantom Lady spots their colleagues on television fighting the Ghost's Green Goons at the very instant that Sam and the others climb in through the window. The Ray then draws everyone's attention to the television where our old pal, District Attorney David Pearson, is saying,
And by blacking out Yonkers Raceway, the fugitives who call themselves the Freedom Fighters created a mass panic. I've just spoken to the District Attorney in Yonkers, and we've agreed to work together in getting the Governor to appoint a special task force to track down and apprehend these criminals.
Martha steps forward, switching off the television, saying, That settles it, gang. You've got to get out of the state till the heat's off. And the bomb says,
But where can we go and not be recognised?
And Martha gets a very dramatic close-up as she says, It just so happens there's a perfect place. A town that celebrates Halloween with a big parade of superheroes. A town where nobody would give you a second glance. Rutland, Vermont. I've got to go up there to cover the parade. If you leave tonight, I can meet you there tomorrow. And we cut to Rutland, Vermont. Now, we have been to Rutland, Vermont on the podcast before. Isn't that right, Peter?
Most certainly is, yes. In, what was it, 1972?
I think so, yeah.
We did the Rutland, Vermont special episode with the crossovers with Thor as well, yes.
Yes, the crossover between Amazing Adventures, Thor and JLA. Fantastic.
That was it.
Great episode, which we really, really enjoyed putting together. So if you haven't heard it, please go back and find it. It's great fun.
It's crazy, yes.
Yeah. And the scene we see in Rutland, Vermont is a floating wheels being built with a huge Batman balloon, and there's a sort of weird floating pink-faced cartoon guy floating above as well, and there appears to be a statue of Dollman being carried into position. Lots of people standing there and watching, and what looks like a photographer chap standing in the foreground of the panel, talking to what might be the actual Dollman. Be assured this panel will make it to the socials. And after this establishing shot of our location, there's a caption.
Plans are made and a meeting is arranged, but next morning, as the freedom fighters await their secret helper, another meeting is taking place near Rutland.
Yes, we're out in the woods, we're out in the forest, and we see a bunch of guys in weird blue robes and a nice selection of pointed blue hats, or indeed what looks like a couple of them are wearing horned helmets. And there's a weird dais built up. It looks a little bit like a gallows at first look. There's a burning little brazier on top of it. There's some other weird things going on. And there's about 7 of them. 7 of these guys in the blue robes. And another caption tells us who they are when it says,
This is the coven of warrior wizards, led by a sorcerer supreme known to the members only as Enstra.
Yes, we see Enstra, a wide-eyed looking fellow with a chin beard and a moustache. He looks a bit like John Cleese to my eyes. We get a proper look at his floor-length blue robes. There's a golden circle with another circle inside it on his chest. The colouring of it varies over the next couple of panels. He is waving a large sword around as he addresses his colleagues and says,
The hour is at hand, fellow wizards. At noon we will summon Homulus from the bowels of the earth, and his evil shall possess the man who in 2 days hence will be elected to the highest office in the land, the presidency of the United States.
He raises both hands wide, raising his sword.
Only one task remains before we can achieve our victory. We need a sacrifice.
And guess what, listeners? You won't be surprised to know that we cut to Martha Roberts walking through the forest, minding her own business. We see a couple of the warrior wizards, one of the guys with the pointy hats, one with the horned helmets, watching her through the foliage, and then jumping her from behind, one grabbing her by the wrist and a hand around her mouth as she drops her handbag, which we see very helpfully has her initials on it, and she is led off with a close-up shot of her handbag on the ground for emphasis.
While in a small cabin not far away...
Yes, we see Uncle Sam, Dollman, who's at full size, which is a rarity, the Ray, and the Human Bomb, who doesn't have his full costume on, but is reading an issue of Gotham magazine, which is an advert for cigarettes on the back and a front cover that reads, Freedom Fighters, Heroes or Villains?
Gasp.
And we see an assembled shot of the heroes. Now, there's an amusing background detail here from Ramona. I get the sense they probably haven't been here very long. Maybe a day at tops, maybe a few hours, but the kitchen sink is rammed full of dishes. Honestly, it's worse than our staff room.
Gasp.
Dollman is pacing up and down with his hand at his forehead as Uncle Sam, leaning back in his chair, says, Darn it, Darryl, with all that pacing you're doing, you're going to dig a trench in the floor.
I'm worried, Sam. Something's happened to Martha.
And we see the Ray about to dig into a sandwich, which he's just been sprinkling some pepper over by the looks of it in the previous panel. The Ray says, You're turning into a real nervous Nelly, kid. She probably just got lost trying to find the cabin.
No way! She's been coming up to this cabin since she was 2 years old. Her father built it.
Black Condor seems to appear from nowhere at this point, as he says, You may be right, Darryl. Something tells me Martha is in trouble. Gosh almighty, Tom, don't you start, says Sam, as Dollman makes for the door, saying,
You guys can debate all you want, but I'm going out to look for her.
And then we see him walking through the woods in a panel that looks as if it was drawn by Gil Kane, to my eyes, quite frankly.
Yeah.
He's walking along and he thinks,
No sign of her, but wait a second.
He's seen something. He kneels down, picking up what we would over here call a handbag, but what they might call over there a purse. As he examines it, Dollman thinks,
If this isn't Martha's, my name's Tom Thumb. Something's happened. I've got to find her. Now, where?
And being that the warrior wizards are much too cosmic to worry about mundane things like covering their tracks...
Dollman has found them in the centre of the woods very, very quickly. We can see the burning brazier is still going. Martha has been tied by the wrist and the ankle. She's down on the ground. Wizards standing over her. Enstra, standing above, is saying,
Our time of glory approaches. Prepare the sacrifice.
Dollman thinks,
Sacrifice? What the devil is this? Got to save Martha, but I'm going to need help.
and as he shrinks down to his Dollman form, his thoughts continue.
Can't risk running back for the others. If only...
And then we get a disembodied close-up shot of Dollman's head as his thoughts continue.
The trip from Earth X mysteriously increased the powers of both Sam and the bomb, gave Happy control of heat as well as light, and Sandy the ability to become a phantom at will. And when we battled the Silver Ghost, I saved the Condor with some kind of telekinetic power.
And a couple of asterisks lead us to captions which remind us that the trip from Earth X was in issue 1, and when he saved the Silver Ghost, that was in the last issue, and indeed we get a little flashback, rounded edge panel, of Dollman using his psychic abilities to slow Condor's momentum as he falls, and Condor saying, huh? And all this, of course, is led to us by Tony Isabella. We return to the present, and a dynamic close-up of Dollman as he focuses and thinks,
I've got to concentrate that power on one object in the cabin, and pray it brings the freedom fighters here.
And back at the cabin the freedom fighters are staying in, one of the human bomb's gloves starts to move. It pokes Roy on the shoulder. I'm memeing that for the benefit of our YouTube viewers. Of course, Pete and I were recording this in the same room. For further authenticity, I would have got up and gone over and poked him on the shoulder. And then the glove beckons towards the bomb, Condor, and the others, trying to lead them away. Phantom Lady thinks it's ghosts! But Condor quickly works out what's going on, and even more quickly, the team find Dollman in the forest, where he brings the others up to speed, saying,
They're some kind of crazy wizards, and they're planning to use Martha to conjure up some demon.
But if we can help it, come on, Daryl, we'll launch the air attack, says Condor, leaping into the air, as he suggested, with Dollman on his shoulder. Sam, stepping forward, says, well then, like I once said to my good buddy Teddy on San Juan Hill, charge! And Sam and Phantom Lady and the Ray and Condor and Dollman, no sign of the human bomb at this point, it must be said, rush forward. We see Martha panicking, wide-eyed and terrified, as she obviously has been tied to a post up on the little platform. Enstra and the other wizards are surprised to see the freedom fighters running towards them, and Enstra pulls his sword, saying,
The forces of good. They seek to foil our mission. Stop them!
And moving as one, the warrior wizards reveal the dual meaning of their name.
yeah, they all pull out swords and advance on the heroes, with Enstra saying,
Let the ground be anointed with the blood of our enemies.
At Sam's encouragement, the Ray uses his heat beam to melt most of the wizard's swords. Enstra's sword is still whole, and he moves to strike at Uncle Sam, but Sam quickly takes him out with a punch to the jaw and an astonishing whack. We see Dollman struggling to untie Martha from the weird sort of totem pole thing that we now see she is tied to. Enstra waves his sword at the Black Condor, who says, I do wish you'd speed it up, Mr. Dane. I can't keep Mr. Magic here busy forever.
Sorry for the delay, Mr. Wright. It's just hard to keep my mind on the job when I'm this close to Martha.
It's difficult to read her expression here. Martha at this point thinks, Dollman seems to be as interested in me as I am in him. But does he like me for me, or because I look like his old girlfriend?
But that's a question to be answered another day, as...
Dollman unties Martha and they leap off the platform. Enstra swiping away at Condor, and then we see Phantom Lady is being set upon by another guy with a sword who yells, Die, wench! Die for Homulus! And he brings up his sword to swing at her, but Phantom Lady says,
Not me, bud. Even the best sword can't cut a Phantom Lady.
and she slips into Ghost Phantom mode, which means that the Wizard Goon's sword passes right through where she was and strikes Enstra in the back, who yells, "Arrgh!" And he falls over on the platform, which suddenly starts to shake, and indeed it looks like it cracks open, because there is a massive sound effect, and over the page a caption reads,
Contrary to popular belief, demons are not that particular about who is used for a sacrifice. And thus it is with Homulus. This creature from the depths is just as satisfied with the death of Enstra as he would have been with that of Martha Roberts. Because any way you slice it, Homulus is free!
Yes, a spectacular full splash page shows the ground under the platform cracking open, an enormous burst of flames coming up through the hole in the ground, showing the tentacled and horned form of Homulus himself. We see the remaining wizards recoiling in horror, Sam looking up, Condor up in the air holding on to Martha and Phantom Lady for some reason. That doesn't look particularly safe, given that the tentacles are coiling everywhere and the flames are bursting everywhere. Down on the ground, Human Bomb, who we've not seen for a few pages, is standing, being set upon by a couple of the remaining wizards, with them both striking him on his helmet with their swords as he pulls off one of his gloves and says,
I've been avoiding using my explosive powers and you little guys, but against that blob of last year's jello, I'm not going to pull any punches. Bombs away!
And the bomb leaps into the air, punches the demon. Nothing happens, though. And then he struggles to switch off the power damper. Of course, the power damper. Dollman and the Ray fly up as Dollman says to the Ray,
We've got to help him fast, Happy. Hit him with everything you've got. His suit'll protect him, but the heat should melt the damper.
And the Ray unleashes a heat blast which strikes the bomb, who says,
Hope this works, or it's goodbye, Roy Lincoln.
And at the top of the next page there is success, and the sound effect,
Kabaroo!
And as Homulus recoils, the bomb himself falls backward and his helmet goes flying off as he says,
Well, what do you know? It worked.
Sam puts a hand on his shoulder saying, Good job, Roy, but a more direct attack might be best here.
Sam, look, something's wrong with the Condor.
And the bomb looks up as a caption reads,
Suddenly,
and we see Black Condor still up in the air, his eyes wide, and weird waves of energy rippling off from him as he clutches at his head and says, Must go to the master. Homulus calls me. And he starts flying down as the Ray says, What's Tom doing? Is he crazy? And Dollman, perched on his shoulder, says,
Not crazy. Somehow the demon's taking control of his mind. We've got to stop him, Happy.
And the Ray flies up and fires a blast of energy, basically, seemingly, at Black Condor's jaw as he says, Sorry about this, Tom. I'm spending more time zapping our team than I am the baddies. And as the heat blast strikes Condor in the face, he can only exclaim, Yeah!
and below, the last step towards victory, in the form of a mighty leap by Uncle Sam.
Yes, a mighty leap, Uncle Sam, as he bears the human bomb with him. Roy has now stripped completely to his underpants. The bomb has taken off his suit completely. As Sam lifts him, he says, Sorry, Roy, your suit cuts down your power too much, and we can't take any chances with this Homulus critter.
This is better work, Sam.
And Sam flies over Homulus, releasing the bomb, and as Roy drops, he says,
Well, like I said before, bombs away!
and he plummets towards Homulus, and a massive full panel sound effect says, This is a slow dissolve. A caption reads,
Epilogue.
And we're back with Martha Roberts, looking recovered. She's got a microphone in her hand, and she's obviously reporting on the Rutland Halloween parade, because we can see a float behind her, a giant Batman balloon on it. There's a guy dressed as Superman, another lad dressed as Shazam, Captain Marvel, someone dressed as Billy Batson, someone dressed as what's probably supposed to be Robin, but looks more like Sandy the Golden Boy. Martha reporting is saying, And, despite the mysterious explosion for which police have found no explanation, the Halloween parade here in Rutland, Vermont goes on as scheduled. The next panel, this is quite trippy. There's a huge Aquaman balloon. I guess it is anyway. And the float in front of it has an Aquaman logo, and we can see it's either Aquaman and Aqualad or people dressed up as them. And Martha is interviewing what appears to be former Doctor Who producer Philip Hinchcliffe. She is saying, With me is Tom Fagan, organiser of this annual event. Any comments, Tom?
Well, Miss Roberts, if anybody around here knows anything about what was going on out there in the woods last night, they're not talking.
And a float passes behind Tom and Martha. And we're not sure if it's the originals, but we can see people dressed as Uncle Sam and Black Condor, Human Bomb, Phantom Lady and the Ray, waving to the crowds. I suspect it probably is the originals, as Martha winks to the camera and the audience and closes matters by saying, From Rutland, this is Martha Roberts, GBS News. And a caption reads,
Next issue, The Mystery of the Black Condor, The Trail of the Silver Ghost, and The Emperor of the North Pole. All in Freedom Fighters issue 7. On sale the last week in December. Be there.
Well then, I suppose if I'm being charitable, this is a fun Halloween throwaway.
It is, yes. It doesn't really advance anything apart from the human bombs now semi-cured. That's the only thing that's really
happened. We have had a bit of a leap with Martha now completely accepting the freedom fighters
Yes.
and basically hiding them in her cabin.
Uh-huh. We had a bit of a narrative leap between issue 1 and issue 2 when things seemed to progress. And obviously, it feels like there's a scene missing in a way.
Yeah.
But it kind of backs up what you were saying the other day about Mal, and not really knowing what his powers are. It's just like, this is...
Yeah.
It's not really something I think they need to go into a huge amount of detail about. But at the same time, issue 5 finished with them all hiding in an alleyway. And they're now crashing at Martha's apartment, which must be quite big for 6 costumed people to fit in it.
Well, she's in a reporter's salary, in the time of 70s telly, that's quite big.
Probably.
She's basically Anchorman.
Yeah. Wow. Imagine Freedom Fighters in an Anchorman-style movie.
I'm imagining it right now. Jinx.
Yeah, I mean, it's always probably what happened. She probably, either they made is it obvious they made contact with her, or she made contact, or Dollman probably was led to make contact with her.
Mm-hmm.
I would have liked to have maybe seen some of that dialogue.
Yeah.
But it's a fine issue. Looking at it overall, I'm surprised at how much is sort of wasted on fighting with the Green Goons at the racetrack. I mean, that takes up 5 whole pages.
Yeah.
I was very surprised at that. They probably didn't need as much of that, because it does feel like the actual battle with Homulus is a little insubstantial.
Yeah, I mean, it's great that they've got a demon for a Halloween story. I mean, that's terrific and good fun. And obviously tying it into the Rutland Halloween is also good fun, because it's showing continuity and a bit of in-jokery, which is always good. I know what you mean. It does seem to take away from that, because you could have added a lot more to those scenes and made them more atmospheric, because you've got this fight in the woods, and sometimes it's just like plain yellow backgrounds, plain orange backgrounds, plain green backgrounds.
Mm-hmm.
There's not really any atmosphere. The facial expressions are terrific, I think, but it's definitely lacking in atmosphere, considering you've got this giant, powerful demon. And I loved the twist when the wizard's killed by accident.
Yes, that's genius.
Which, incidentally, is Phantom Lady's fault, because she phases and causes him to be killed. My goodness.
Does that count as manslaughter?
Well, she might not know he was behind her, but, it's still technically. Yeah. Shocker.
That might have been my favourite bit in the whole story, actually, because there's an element of irony to it. This guy's so rabid about calling up this demon to cause havoc, and then ends up being the source of it himself.
Mm-hmm.
I suppose they wanted an action-packed opening to the issue. They probably didn't want to start with all the conversations about moving up to...
Mm-hmm.
But, if they'd lost maybe a page of the chariot racing nonsense, we could have had maybe a bit more substance to the confrontation with the demon, because as it is, the demon pops up, and then 2.5 pages later, he's gone.
Yeah.
Because Roy dropped on him and exploded him.
Yes, a nearly naked Roy, yes.
I mean, to me, it's a little unsatisfying, because you start to wonder, right, they had to sacrifice something. It's probably a proper, I'm aware of what I'm saying, listeners. It's probably a proper, big, scary, bad demon, right? And then being stopped by an explosion, surely it would have to be sent back, or there'd have to be some other ritual.
You would think, yeah.
Yeah, I've found that a little bit unsatisfying. And that kind of ties into what I was saying about, before we started, about how, in comparison to All-Star Comics, Freedom Fighters is very much beans on toast, rather than a gourmet 5-course meal. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. I mean, they could have had a line of dialogue saying he's just arrived, he's not at his full strength, quickly, before he gains to... I mean, that would have been great.
Yes, I like that, yeah.
If one of the other wizards had said, he's here, but quick, protect him, he's not at full strength yet.
He's still acclimatizing, something like that. It's a weird one. I mean, I did enjoy it. I loved it. I think Ramona's really good at the facial expressions, and there's a slight, exaggerated quality to some of it. I was deeply amused by the unwashed dishes. It's a great little obvious sort of narrative thing to have Martha be the intended sacrifice, and you get that nice bit of Marvel angst as Dollman is rescuing her, as they're both as they're both thinking the same thing. It's fun but a bit fluffy.
I know what you mean. The fugitive status of the Freedom Fighters is annoying, because I feel they have to explain that every issue.
Yes.
Because obviously when you pick up a superhero comic, if it was your first one, you'd expect the main character to be a superhero. But obviously Freedom Fighters, they are, but they're wanted. It is they've got a warrant out for their arrest. It's not like Spider-Man Threat or Menace.
Yeah.
They are genuinely wanted.
Absolutely, yeah.
But they have to go to great extremes to explain this every issue.
Yeah.
Until this is resolved. And it does eat a ton of storytelling, which is frustrating.
Yeah, I mean, it's on the one hand, it's good for the actor who plays David Pearson, because it means he's got a scene every week. He can go and sit in his trailer until he gets called for his close-up.
He's the Jack McGee of the stories.
Yeah, he is. He really is. This one, though, it looks like he maybe filmed it via Zoom, though maybe he wasn't able to get into the studio that day. I mean, looking at it now, I like the hiding in plain sight final panel there with the heroes lined up at the parade. And it's nice to see another Rutland parade in one of the comics, because there's been a couple that we've done. I'm sure there was another one we looked at as well as the crossover with JLA and Thor and the Beast. It'll come back to me, I'm sure.
Yeah. And it's fun to see as well the big celebration of Aquaman.
Yes.
And Aqualad.
Yes.
You know, obviously they love them in Rutland.
They must do. Absolutely. To go to the extent of having a full big balloon as well as a couple of guys dressing as them.
And of course, you get Captain Marvel there and someone dressed as Billy Batson. That's interesting.
Yes. Oh, right. Well, let's do the obvious extrapolation from that then. That means that there must be comic books published, or maybe they've got the TV show. But yeah, on Earth 1, there must be Shazam comics where everyone knows that Billy is Captain Marvel. That's the point. Yeah, that's interesting, because technically this means, is this the first comic to have a page featuring the Human Bomb in his underpants, the original Captain Marvel, and Aquaman?
I believe it is.
I think it might be, yes.
Listeners, if you know of any other comic that preceded this that has those three aspects, please write in and let us know. We'll give you the address near the end.
Yes, we will. Well, this was fun. So quickly now, we'll move on to what correspondence there is. Looking at issue 9, there's a big long blurb about people wanting the origins of the freedom fighters, so that's something that's going to start playing out over subsequent issues. There's one letter which we may as well read because it mentions another correspondent who we've read letters from. One letter here, Peter will read us it now.
Dear editor, it's funny. Back in issue 1, Uncle Sam said, "We call ourselves the freedom fighters. We fight for freedom, not against it." And now they're wanted for crimes they didn't commit, and they're literally fighting for freedom.
Yes, they're fighting for freedom over land and air, just like G.I. Joe. Go, Joe!
And you know what? I love it. I love this book and the direction it's taking. First of all, I detect characterization with the personality each freedom fighter has developed. Martha Roberts is a great addition, and I hope she and Dongman meet again. Then there is D.A. Pearson, one of the new kind of characters popping up in comics lately, the anti-hero average man. Yet, he is the best of the crop. Keep him in. The Silver Ghost is good, or is that evil? And I see many more battles ahead. Now comes the bad part. The artwork doesn't fit in with the scripting. I hate to disagree with anybody, but I must do so with reader Scott Gibson. Ramona Fradon is good, no doubt about it, but I would like to see a different artist handling the freedom fighters' chores. Pablo Marcos and Tex Blaisdell came close in issue 2, but I would like to see Dick Dillon, who did so well in JLA 107 and 108. Another person I disagree with is Frank Antoni's. Your letter page logo is great. Long may it, and the freedom fighters wave. And that's from Warren Morrison, Comedy, Texas.
Editorial response, I'm not going to read it properly because it has a mild spoiler for issue 9, which is where this letter came from. But basically, it acknowledges appreciation of some things and dislike of others. They're talking about improving characterizations. And they also mention a change in the art team, which I don't think we should talk about either, because that will just spoil what's coming up. But again, that does tell us that the art team in Freedom Fighters is going to change again, which is crazy, because they're only on issue 9.
I know.
Wow. Unfortunately, with this issue and issue 7, which we'll get to in a moment, there's not a real lot of issue-specific correspondence, so we're just reading these letters out just to kind of give the wider context. So hopefully there'll be a little bit more in-depth correspondence to cover when we read issue 7 in a moment. And now that we've all had a quick refreshment break, let's crack on with issue 7 of Freedom Fighters, published on the 23rd of December 1976. Wow! What a lovely Christmas present that would have been for someone.
From Halloween to Christmas. Excellent.
Yeah. So, look forward to issue 8, set at Valentine's Day. Yeah.
Love is in the air.
John Paul Young there, listeners.
Yes.
It's going to be all about Martha and Dollman and the human bomb, or unrequited love for Sandy. Anyway, look forward to issue 8. That'll be along before you know it. So Peter's going to delight in telling us about the cover to issue 7. And I'm going to delight in making a hugely critical comment about it afterwards.
Yes, the DC Bullet's here. Yay, we have moved to the period where that is back. And it's a green DC Bullet in the top left corner.
Yes, update your spreadsheets accordingly, everyone.
Indeed. The legendary Guardians of Liberty from World War II. Freedom Fighters at the top. The Freedom Fighters logo doesn't have the tricolour look that it had in the previous issue. It's one solid colour. It's all kind of reddish.
Yeah, that's disappointing.
30 cents, number 7, April, production codes 30496. Approved, of course, by the Comics Code Authority.
Thank heavens for that.
Now, we appear to be in some sort of rocky outcrop, top of a mountain perhaps. The freedom fighters are there. Well, some of the freedom fighters are there. I can't see Human Bomb. But we see Ray, Black Condor, Uncle Sam, Phantom Lady, and Dollman. Actually, where is Human Bomb? That's terrible.
He's probably off cutting about his underpants, like he was at the end of the last issue.
Probably looking for where he put his costume after that.
Trying to find his trousers. We've all been there. Jokes.
Walking about, holding a bush in front of him to hide his modesty. He's not like Namor the Submariner. He can't pull that off.
When we write our DC comic.
Yes, so as I said, we have the freedom fighters, but they seem to be under attack. Under attack by miniature superheroes. My goodness. Supergirl is flying up, punching the Ray. Wonder Woman is capturing Black Condor and Uncle Sam in her lasso. And a miniature Superman's flying down to bash their heads together.
Blimey.
Batman's swinging in. He looks like he's throwing his batarang at Phantom Lady. Oh my goodness. He has missed her though. And Dollman, oh my goodness, he's falling off the edge of this cliff.
Oh, heck.
And he's saying, "We'll be slaughtered. These deadly toys have the same superpowers as the originals." And caption at the bottom says, "Shocking. Will the Sensational Six meet final defeat against the Doom Dolls of the Justice League of America?"
Well then, listeners, just think of this cover. Think of the time year it was published. Once we read the story, we'll come back and I'll give my full critique of this cover.
Interesting.
Yeah, Doom Dolls of the Justice League of America. There we go.
I think they supported menswear, I believe.
Yes. Is Dollman's reference to superpowers a reference to the action figure line, but a few years too early?
You know, on Earth X, they had them much earlier, yes.
Yes, this is true.
It's a Rich Buckler and Jack Abel cover as well, I should mention. Their signatures in the corner, yes.
Oh, lovely. A lot of Rich Buckler stuff going on right now. This is excellent. Right. Listeners, we'd better just get on with it and jump into the story. Like last issue, there is a little identifying run of small panels of the heroes demonstrating their powers and captions underneath telling us who they are.
Uncle Sam, and again, question mark, we still don't know Sam's real identity. Dollman, Darrell Dean. Phantom Lady, Sandra Knight. The Ray, Happy Terrell. The Black Condor, Thomas Wright. And the Human Bomb, Roy Lincoln. And then we have the creator credits for the issue. Bob Rozakis, writer. Dick Ayers and Jack Abel, artists. And Tony Isabella, story editor. Obviously, they're not telling us about the coverist or the letterer in this issue.
No, they're not. That's a shame. And looks like Ramona Fradon has gone. Gosh.
Gasp.
She didn't hang around. She's probably off doing Plastic Man, maybe. I don't know. Or maybe
yes,
Super Friends, maybe. Who can say?
Very busy with Super Friends just now.
Yeah. So, there's an opening splash image. It's a very comfortable looking apartment space that the heroes are in, and there's a large chair, and it looks like Human Bomb and the Ray are trying to restrain the Black Condor in this chair. Dollman is grabbing hold of his left leg. Interesting, his left leg is coloured a different colour to the rest of him. Maybe that's a side effect. They've forgotten to colour in Dollman's flesh tones as well, by the looks of it. Uncle Sam's got hold of his right leg. Phantom Lady standing in the background looking appalled. An ashtray has been knocked off the small wheeled cabinet that is beside this chair. That's fascinating.
Don't smoke, kids.
Yep. Black Condor's eyes are white. He's obviously having a terrible time. Human Bomb is saying,
Tom's going berserk again.
"Hold him down," yells the Ray as the captioning kicks back in.
In case you're wondering, the Black Condor is having another attack. Another, you ask? That's right, but we'll fill you in on the previous ones as we go along, because this condition will prove to have drastic effects when our Sensational Six square off against the Emperor of the North Pole. When last we saw our heroes, it was Halloween. Now, a few days before Christmas, winter has come to their cabin hideaway near Rutland, Vermont. During this time, Thomas Wright, aka Black Condor, has begun exhibiting newly dawning mental power, with dangerous results.
Yes, there is a nice inset shot of Condor looking pained, and then back into the narrative properly, he yells, "Ah!" as he gets up from the chair, knocking Dollman flying. As Human Bomb and the Ray attempt to restrain him, the Bomb yells,
Watch it, he's breaking free!
and with a "Gah!" Condor throws the Human Bomb, and he goes flying and shatters the table in the corner. Oh my goodness, this poor cabin that has stood there for so long, and it's been decorated and laid out in such a nice fashion by Martha's family, and the Freedom Fighters have come along and ruined it. How awful. Uncle Sam tries to restrain Condor on the next panel, saying, "Sorry, Tom. Reckon I've got to take drastic action before you wreck this place. And I don't think Darrow's lady friend would take kindly to that." And an asterisk takes to a caption that reads,
If you were here last issue, you know that GBS newswoman Martha Roberts is the owner of this cabin, Tony, or indeed if you've listened to the first half of this episode.
Yes, we would really hope that you had. Someone out there that has a real hatred for Freedom Fighters issue 6 and just skipping forward 30 seconds.
Spin on.
on.
Excellent. At 7. Now I can start listening.
Yes. The wild look in Condor's eyes fades as Sam holds him down and Tom Wright says, "All right, Sam, I'm okay now." A little time has obviously passed. He sat down, the others are stood around as the Ray is saying, "I don't want to appear over-anxious, but did you get a line on the Silver Ghost with all that mental hocus-pocus?" Condor replies, "Ever since Homulus attacked me with his mental powers, I've been developing some kind of telepathic ability myself, but when I try to focus it, I lose control. All I can recall is a scene of Santa Claus' workshop at the North Pole." And of course, there's a little caption here which reminds us that Homulus was...
Last issue's Demonic Menace. Or indeed the start of this episode's Demonic Menace.
Yes. Phantom Lady laughs at Condor's assertion here.
That's just a fairy tale, Tom.
"Now, just a darn second," says Sam. "It might not be. I remember reading in one of Martha's magazines about a place in upstate New York called Santaland. And we see this outdoors Christmas-themed theme park. We can see a large structure which is called Reindeer Barn. There's a log cabin which has Elves Headquarters written on a sign hanging from it. There's a very homely-looking little toy shop-style place with squared windows and a sign that reads Santa's Workshop with a large candy cane hanging outside. Lots of people walking around, and some captioning kicks in.
Right you are, Uncle Sam, and it's one of the biggest tourist attractions this time of year, as hundreds of people come daily to visit Santa Claus and his elf assistants.
And we see Santa Claus talking to some small children. There's one kid on his lap. And whispering into Santa's ear is a little elf. Very small chap. Red hair, red beard, pointy ears. He's wearing a green sort of cloak, a black belt. There's a red elf's hat with a bell at the end. Whispering into Santa's ear. Santa gets to his feet, ushering the kids away, saying, "Excuse me, children. Santa will be right back." And one little kid says,
Hurry back, Santa. I've got a long list.
and as this is going on, the elf that we just described is standing in the foreground of the panel looking very shifty indeed. Over the page, we see the elf and Santa Claus moving down a flight of stairs into a room, which is a couple of tables, obviously some kind of workshop space. Santa Claus is saying, "What is it now, elf? You know there are dozens of youngsters waiting to see me."
Let 'em keep waiting, Santa. This takes precedence.
And the elf crosses to pull aside a large curtain showing a large screen with a map of the US and spinning tape spools and controls and buttons and stuff underneath, with the elf continuing.
It's time to put our plan into action if we're going to be the true North Pole by Christmas Eve.
"If you say so, elf. Just go ahead and do it. I trust you. I must get back to the children." And he leaves, going back up the stairs. The elf, looking very manic and evil, presses a few buttons, thinking to himself,
The old fool. He really fell for this gambit. When I'm through tilting the Earth onto a new axis, this place really will be the North Pole, and half the United States will be inside the Arctic Circle. Then, as payment for his help, that Silver Ghost guy can have New York, and I will get the rest as the Emperor of the North Pole. At last, I'll have my revenge on a world that scorns anybody who isn't just like everybody else.
There's a slight Jack Kirby quality to his face here, isn't there?
Yeah, definitely.
Interesting. Yes, so he looks at the map, which has got a circle on it, which is obviously angling at some part of the US, which is obviously where they want to try and tilt things to. But then the elf notices a bright pink alarm light flashing on the control console. He exclaims,
Huh?
and thinks,
A security alarm. Somebody trying to sneak into the park.
and he crosses to a screen which shows the familiar figures of the freedom fighters peering out from behind a log cabin structure. Phantom Lady, Condor and Dollman must be freezing because there's tons of snow all laying around, and the elf looks at them all and thinks,
Costumed superheroes. This calls for action.
And over the page, we pass a gorgeous full-page house advertisement for the imminent arrival of the DC Dollar Comics. 80
Yay.
pages, all new stories, and highlighted here we can see Superman Family, House of Mystery, and there's also mention of World's Finest and GI Combat. Probably I'll put that page on the socials this week, listeners. Keep your eyes peeled.
And we'll be covering some stories from those issues, so yes.
Yes, stock up on the early World's Finest Dollar Comics if you don't have them already.
Yes.
That's what we'd say right now.
Uh-huh.
So, as we get to the next story page, we zoom in, essentially, on the image that was on the screen and see the hero standing amongst the snow, and Phantom Lady points out the bleeding obvious when she says,
It's cold out here.
and the Ray, rather creepily, says, "Give me a chance, Sandy, and I'll warm you up." And he moves a little bit closer as the human bomb looks on and thinks,
Here we go again. Romeo Ray putting the moves on Sandy. If only there was some way I could tell her how I feel about her.
Marvel Inks there, listeners. Dollman interrupts proceedings here when he says to the couple,
Sorry to interrupt, folks, but this trip is for business, not pleasure.
and the Ray says, "Daryl, you're just being a spoil sport because Martha's back in New York City." Next panel, we see that Condor has spotted a little approaching, well, very helpfully, he says to them all, "Heads up, folks, we've been discovered by a troop of toy soldiers." And the Ray, laughing at this, says, "Ha ha! And now they're shooting at us! I told you we should have paid for admission to this silly place." And then he puts a hand to his shoulder in pain as he says, "Yow! They're firing real bullets!" Ray blasts at the toy soldiers, and then the team is attacked by more marauding toys. Sam and the bomb tussle with some very grisly teddy bears, and Ray, Dollman, Phantom Lady and Black Condor are set upon by dolls armed with razor-edged frisbees and electrified skipping ropes.
Ouch.
Condor is lassoed by a rope and brought to the ground, while the Ray and Phantom Lady's respective blasts have little effect on the dolls responsible. We then interrupt proceedings with a one-page interlude in New York, where we see Martha Roberts and her boss discussing the events at Santaland, which are somehow helpfully being covered by a local news affiliate. I guess they must always have someone on hand at Santaland in case anything happens. Martha wants to go and cover the situation herself, but her boss refuses. They argue, but he sticks to his guns and walks off, leaving Martha to stare at the moon. Take a drink, everyone. I'm going to take a drink.
Me too.
As she contemplates her developing feelings for Daryl Dane, a.k.a. the Dollman. We return to the FF, not that FF. Although having said that, they've announced future Foundation action figures and they look amazing. Anyway,
Oh, cool.
as Dollman points out where Phantom Lady and the Ray are going wrong with the dolls, leading to Ray using his heat blast and Phantom Lady fading out. Dollman helps the bomb to remove his glove using his new telekinetic powers, and the bomb then blasts one of the giant grizzly bears with a
Kablam!
They move to help Sam, who's still wrestling with a bear himself, but he tells them to help Condor, who's still tied up in a jump rope. The Ray joins Bomb and Dollman in making short work of the dolls, and they free the Condor. Dollman then perches on Condor's shoulder, saying,
It's risky, Tom, but you've got to use your mental powers again. Find out who's behind all this.
and a rather pained-looking Condor says, "I'll try." Sam finally gets rid of his grizzly grappler by kicking it into the distance, and we cut back to a sweating, concentrating Condor, who gets a series of tracking close-ups as he says, "Attack! Being controlled by Elf! Elf!" he yells in the last panel.
Put an APB out on Will Ferrell.
Yes, oh my goodness, can you imagine?
I'm imagining it right now.
And indeed, almost in response to what Condor has just cried, we see the elf poking out from behind one of the cabins. He says,
That's my name, and I'll thank you not to wear it out. Meanwhile, meet my Imperial Force. Miniature replicas of some of your superhero buddies, but just as powerful as the originals.
and we see running in, there's a Supergirl action figure, there's a Wonder Woman action figure whirling her lasso around, swinging in batarangs. We see Batman and Robin, and bouncing in with his head at a very awkward angle, we see Superman. But, unfortunately, in the next panel, we also see Condor screaming, "Yeah!" and flying off. Obviously, his weird mental issues are happening again, and he zooms around, knocking both Human Bomb and Uncle Sam off their feet, with Sam crying, "Ta Nation! Not now, Tom! Not now!" And then we cut to Dollman, who has not only been lassoed by Wonder Woman, but also he's been roped by Batman and Robin, or at least action figures. And this is great because You could be forgiven for thinking Dollman is fighting the real thing, but obviously he's at Six's miniature size, and these are action figure sized. It's quite an interesting panel. Taking this all in, Dollman says to himself,
3 against 1.
and then he yells,
Hey, then I just have to size up this situation.
and the first panel of the next page is amazing, because we haven't seen too many of these over the Dollman stories we've done. We see Daryl sizing up, growing up to full normal size, snapping the ropes and freeing himself from the action figures. Meanwhile, we see the Superman action figure flying in towards the human bomb and cracking him on the side of the helmet, prompting Roy to say,
He may be just a pint-sized Superman, but he'll break through my helmet if he keeps this up.
and as the Superman figure loops round for another attack, the bomb takes off his helmet, saying,
So I'll just save him the trouble.
and the little Superman doll flies in, collides with Dollman's head, and explodes with a small BAM! Gosh. The Ray takes to the air to try and get clear, but the Supergirl doll makes a grab for him, and at the same time as Condor returns, flies up to attack Ray as well. Seeing this, Sam leaps up to assist, punching Condor with force, but to no effect. Supergirl continues to hassle the Ray, prompting Dollman to try something with his new mind-over-matter power. He manages to hold the Supergirl doll still so that the Ray can smash her with a punch. The elf isn't happy. He steps forward yelling,
No, no, you're destroying my army. I can't let you.
and the Ray, flying overhead, says, that pint-sized pest is directing this battle, so I've got to take him out, and it's just cold enough to let me pull this off. And the Ray unleashes a heat blast onto the roof of the cabin the elf was standing beside. The Ray then observes that melting snow will cover the elf, and indeed it does. The melting snow rushes over him, and it must be absolutely Baltic there, because he is instantly chilled, and very helpfully, perfectly with comic timing, a local police officer arrives, gets out of his car and yells,
Everybody, freeze!
perfect timing there as the elf was frozen. We see Phantom Lady running along the roof of one of the buildings behind them, and she fires her black light down at the cops, saying,
Sorry, officers, but we were just leaving.
Dollman calls up to the Ray, saying,
Happy, get down here and give us a lift.
but what about the elf? He's tied in with a silver ghost, I bet. And Dollman, looking over at the frozen elf, says,
He's not going anywhere, but unless you want to join him in a cell, the police will be the only ones who get to question him.
a fat lot of good that'll do. They still think the ghost is dead. But okay, one getaway coming up. And he zooms down, grabbing Human Bomb and Dollman and Phantom Lady, and he flies off, saying, Where's Sam and Tom? As Human Bomb says,
Last seen flying west, which is where we're heading, and I hope they're both alive when we find them.
a slow dissolve. The caption reads,
We'll all learn the fate of Uncle Sam and the Condor next issue. But right now, let's check in on New York District Attorney David Pearson.
Yes, David Pearson, named after the guy I went to high school with, is watching Martha Roberts on television. And the freedom fighters escaped after following an alleged attempt to change the Earth's axis by a man identified only as the Elf. A change which would have destroyed, and then we see Pearson presumably switching off the television using the device he's got in his hand, and he huffs to himself, saying,
Bah! Thousands of dollars of damage to Santaland, all caused by those fugitives. And she makes them sound like heroes. If only someone would...
Catch them, Mr. Pearson? We'd like to volunteer. And over the page, Pearson is aghast. He says,
Who are you?
and we see, standing in a line from left to right, a muscular figure with pale blue skin, wearing sort of green shorts, with a green belt, and a weird green Y-shaped sort of harness type thing over the top. Green sandals, and significantly, he has wings on his feet, who identifies himself as...
Barracuda.
Standing next to him is a young boy in a domino mask with a sort of blue tunic with buttons up and down the side, blue leggings, a yellow belt, yellow buccaneer boots in the Cyclops and Luke Cage style. And he's standing next to a guy who is basically wearing a suit which is red, white and blue. Blue boots, red leggings, a red mask. Top of his suit is red, but there are blue and white stripes around his waist. He has a sort of starburst effect on his chest. It's obviously a little circle of stars. And he's holding a shield with a white star at the heart of it and red and blue stripes. And look at the kid beside him, who I've just described. He says, Rusty, and me, the Americommando, at your service. And standing next to them are a man and a young boy who are covered head to toe in flames. They're literally on fire. We can see they're wearing shorts and they have a little flame logo on their chest. Hair burning. The taller of these guys says,
Fireball and Sparky.
We've been out of action since World War II, but we've decided it's time for a comeback.
Yep, and then Barracuda continues this as he says,
Give us the go-ahead, and the freedom fighters will find themselves the targets of the Crusaders.
and a closing caption reads,
Next issue, the fate of Uncle Sam and the Black Condor, the attack of the Crusaders, and D-Day at Niagara Falls. All in Freedom Fighters issue 8. On sale in the middle of February, so it's going to be a Valentine's issue.
Yes.
Be there!
Gosh, listeners, yes, at last we have reached the great Freedom Fighters Invaders unofficial crossover. Look forward to those issues coming to you very, very soon. Right, this is where I get my critique of the cover out of the way.
Yes.
No sign of any snow or Santa or elves or Santa Land at all.
No.
Madness.
And where's this rocky outcrop?
Yes, exactly.
That's nowhere to be seen in the story. That's bizarre.
I didn't see a rocky outcrop. I thought it was going to be a homage to Star Trek, like they did in the second Bill and Ted film. But
Yes.
no.
No Gorn.
Or indeed in Wonder Man, spoilers. But yes, so yeah, great cover. It's not a Defenders 39 situation because that's kind of accurate as to what's happening, but
Yeah.
Dollman doesn't fall from a height and there's no snow. They could have made it a snowy rocky outcrop with a darker sky, maybe,
They could have.
with a nice full moon to lighten things up.
Yeah. Especially considering this issue was dropping just before Christmas. You think they'd try and do the tie-in? That'd be nice. Oh, well. Hey-ho.
Exactly. Shakes fist at Rich Buckler. This was a fun story. We don't get to do Christmas stories that often, so that was interesting. And interesting, the elf is friends with the Silver Ghost.
Which is bizarre.
Mm.
How did that connection come up?
I don't know.
It's so weird.
Maybe we'll find out, or maybe we won't. I have to quickly say, though, I was tickled by the presence of the elf because round about this time, maybe actually about a year or so earlier, there was a sort of recurring thing in the Defenders
Yes.
where you would get these little vignettes where seemingly unconnected people would be going about their daily business and then suddenly an elf with a gun would appear and shoot them or reverse over them in a garbage truck or something.
Yes.
This was a sort of running thing that Steve Gerber did that wasn't resolved until years later when Jean-Marc DeMatteis took over and wound it up in some of the last issues of the Defenders before it flipped to the New Defenders.
Yes.
So I was very amused at the elf turning up. I like to think it's the same elf. No, that's not what happens. Since the elf gets run over by a garbage truck, that's what it was, wasn't it? It wasn't that he ran someone else over. He got run over by a garbage truck or hit by a garbage truck. And it's amazing reading those issues through and seeing the correspondence at the time. It was saying, who's this elf? And he turns up, shoots all these people, gets hit by a bin lorry, and then nothing is done with it for 10 years. It's hilarious.
It's very Steve Gerber, yeah. When Steve leaves the title, it's like, we don't want to carry on with this plot. No, let's just move on.
It's very, very funny. Outside of it, there's not a huge amount of substance to this issue. It really just, the elf's got a plan to tilt the Earth's axis. Santa, is it the real Santa? We're not told otherwise. Isn't aware of it. And then the heroes get to fight some toys and then some action figures based on some of the main DC heroes. And that's kind of it.
Yeah.
I think even by Freedom Fighters standards, it's a bit fluffy.
Yeah, I mean, the robot toys are quite cool, but we've got no sign of any kind of equipment that can possibly tilt the Earth's axis. It's a bit bizarre.
Yeah.
But I do love the whole kind of robot master aspect of this elf, or is it just this elf? Has he got all his other elf helpers?
Gosh, that's a thought. Yeah.
Is it a real elf? Is it just an odd outcast guy who's taking his revenge on humanity? It seems to be that way.
Well, I think it's that because he's got that line, "At last I have my revenge in a world that scorns anybody who isn't just like everybody else." I think you're right with that part.
Mm-hmm. Is this the evil twin of Will Ferrell? I think it might be.
I mean, it's also thought actually, are the other elves involved? And the Silver Ghost and the elf must have some amazing resources, mustn't they?
Mm-hmm.
If they're able to, as you say, come up with all this equipment to alter the axis of the Earth. It's fascinating.
How did they meet in pre-internet days? How do you meet fellow maniacal scientists back in the day?
Classified ads, mate.
Classified ads, yes.
Back of the magazine, back of Supervillain Monthly, in the personal columns, I'm sure.
Wanted robotics expert for tilting of Earth axis.
Yes!
No time wasters.
That's, yes. After 6 p.m. call.
Apply to box.
Must include photo or no reply. Yeah, that's probably it. That's probably exactly how it was. I was very amused at the way stopped the elf just by sort of freezing him solid. But I do wonder, it seems to me this is unfinished business. I want to know
Yeah.
what's going on with this elf and what his the rest of his motivation. But will it be like the Defender's elf? Will we not find out? Who can say? Will I put a Defender's elf montage together for the socials this week? Maybe. Who can say?
I know we joked about it being a Halloween story and then a Christmas story, and that's the time both these issues came out, and we joked the next one will be a Valentine's story. That's before I read that it's coming out in the middle of February. I will not be surprised if love truly is in the air.
Everywhere I look around. No, I better not sing because that'll get us a copyright strike.
So perhaps these Crusaders will bring the love to the freedom fighters.
I hope so. And we're not reading ahead. We tend not to read ahead in this show, listeners. I wonder if there'll be any sort of kind of cloying romantic scenes between the Ray and Phantom Lady or between Daryl and Martha in the next issue. I'd be disappointed if they weren't, given the time of publication.
And Roy putting his head in his hands, going, "Oh, not again,
Yes.
not again. How can I tell her I love her?"
Oh,
etc., etc.
And then we'll get Roy Lincoln sort of moping and tilting his head forward, but he'll be standing too close to a lamppost. There'll be a nice clang sound effect for you to practice. Practice your clang sound effects now, Peter. I don't really have too much else to say on it. It was quite an easy one to read through, and again, it's the chocolate bar and the can of fizzy pop as opposed to the sumptuous three-course meal, which the recent Wally Wood issues of All-Star kind of were in comparison.
Yeah. As we said, of the ongoings that we're kind of covering at this period, this is definitely the weakest one.
Yeah.
Yeah. It feels more filler than killer, I would say.
I think weakest is maybe too harsh. I know exactly what you're saying. I would maybe say it's the least substantial.
Yeah,
to be kinder. I mean, there was some fun stuff, like
Sure.
Dollman at doll size fighting some action figures of Wonder Woman and Batman and growing up to his normal size to kind of snap the ropes. That's pretty cool. That's quite a fun visual sort of trick.
Yeah.
But you're right, it's not particularly text or caption heavy like some of the recent Levitt stuff has been.
Yeah.
It's not as tangled and exciting as the first few issues of Secret Society were that we did.
Yeah, true. But that first panel where the elf introduces the robot superheroes, they're supposed to be toys, they do look kind of full size behind him. Because they are behind him and they are huge.
Yes,
And then they're instantly fighting Dollman. And they're the same size as Dollman. So you think, oh, right, okay, so are they full size then? Is it different from the cover? But then he grows and you go, oh, right, okay, weird. The perspective's not right.
Look, yeah, you're right. I mean, looking at that panel, he says, meet my Imperial Force miniature replicas. And even though the elf is quite small, it just kind of looks like Superman and Batman, holding off the benefit of our YouTube viewers, it just kind of looks like Superman and Batman and that are running in from behind.
Yeah.
And then we see quite a small image of Black Condor freaking out and knocking Bomb and Sam over. And then, as you say, straight away it's Wonder Woman and Batman attacking Dollman. And the only sort of sense we've got of any kind of scale is that we can see someone's boot in the background.
Yeah.
But it's a blue boot, and the only guy that could apply to really is Condor, but he's just flown off, so it's kind of, I don't know if the blue boot was meant to be, maybe be yellow to show that it was supposed to be the Ray. That might have worked better, but you're absolutely right. I hadn't actually thought of that whilst we're reading it, but you're right. They don't really set up the scale or the perspective of them properly at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially the size of the Christmas tree and all that.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Because the Christmas tree makes it look like they're coming in from the background, but they might all be in the foreground.
Yes.
You can't really tell. And also, what are those lines attached to that they're swinging in on? Must be the top of the cabin. Who knows?
This is true. Yeah, look for that panel on the socials at some point this week, listeners. There's an embarrassment of riches of really cool stuff to look for. This is, actually, I should mention, there's a great full-page advertisement for Dinky Toys that we didn't mention as we were flicking through, which highlights the Starship Enterprise, the Eagles from Space 1999, but also the UFO Interceptor and the Shadowmobile from UFO.
Excellent.
The Shadow Interceptor, the Spectrum Pursuit Vehicle from Captain Scarlet and the Mysterons. Max Carr from Joe 90, and Thunderbird 2 and Thunderbird 4.
And of course, Thunderbird 2 was coloured blue for the toy and not green.
Yeah.
Which it was in the series.
Which is fascinating. I guess the Jerry Anderson stuff must have been getting shown or getting an audience at the States at this point.
Yeah.
Anyone listening, you can please let us know. I think I should post this advert, actually, the Dinky advert.
Did you have any of those toys?
Yes. I had a Spectrum saloon car personally myself.
Cool.
But it wasn't painted red. It was the sort of bronzy gold colour sort of reissue from a few years, obviously.
Okay.
After Scarlet was on. I've got a memory of my cousin Mark, who, all being well, I will see in real life next week because he's over from Australia. I remember Mark having the Eagles from Space 1999.
Cool.
Mark was he's a couple of months older than you, so he's about 6 months older than me.
Okay.
Did you have any of these?
Yeah, I had one of the Eagles, which was great. They were really kind of intricate and they're heavy. They're like, really good solid things. And all the feet, the landing pad bits, they were all movable. You could actually,
Sure.
fiddle with them, and it just made it more tactile. It's a great experience playing with it.
Got you.
I also had Thunderbird 2 as well, which did come with a very disappointing Thunderbird 4 inside it. And it was, as I said, bright blue, and that was my first experience of Thunderbirds.
Wow. Excellent.
And when I saw the show, I thought, why is it green?
Yeah.
Because I thought the colour was supposed to be blue.
Yeah, I mean, that's a thought. Like, thinking back, I would have had this Spectrum saloon car, and I guess by, the mid-70s, unless there was repeats of Captain Scarlet going at that point, maybe it wasn't packaged to emphasise that, but I didn't see Captain Scarlet at all until they repeated it up here in the school holidays in 1985.
Right, okay.
I would have had that saloon car toy as a young kid and no idea the context for it at all.
Mm-hmm.
This is the Jerry Anderson Reminiscence podcast.
Yes.
We don't really, I suppose, too much else to say on the story.
Not hugely, no.
It was a fun seasonal diversion. They're working well as a team at this point. It's good to see. The interesting developments for the Condor's mental powers, we'll have to see where that goes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's good that Martha is still involved and good that David Pearson is still involved.
Yeah.
So, listeners, grab your copy of issue 10. Don't flick through the story because it will spoil it. And we'll jump to Freedom fan mail. First letter goes like this. Dear editor, up to the present, I've yet to miss a single issue of Freedom Fighters. I don't want to make any comments on any particular issue, but on the series as a whole. To start with, I'd like to see the Freedom Fighters get the same status the Justice League of America has. With a name like the Freedom Fighters, you can't always have them running from the law. It might be a good idea to keep D.A. Pearson in the shadows, though, always trying to pin something on our six heroes, but never quite succeeding. As far as any change in costume goes, I think it would be a crime to change those uniforms which the heroes started out with in the golden age of comics. They've been with them for decades, and I'd hate to see them change now. They're all colourful costumes which add a special touch to these already fantastic covers. Has there been talk of them changing the costumes? I must have missed that.
No, me too.
It's easy to see that the Human Bomb is destined to be the FFer's most liked character. You would probably be able to pull off a good tear-jerking love story for him. This might be a good project to start after you get Dollman's girlfriend's problems solved. I would also like to say that I was one of the many who noticed that the Crusaders in Freedom Fighters number 7 bore a great similarity to your competitors' World War II heroes. I'm sure you'll justify them and throw in a good story. Also, in closing, I'd like to say you've got a great comic mag, and I'd love to see it go monthly. And that's from Tony Burcher, Lakeside Drive, Grafton, Virginia.
Editorial response. So would we, Tony. So would we. It's our personal effort to make every book we work on a monthly. We've already raised Secret Society Supervillains to an 8 times a year publication, and sales are picking up on this title. If we do reach our goal, we'll still continue our strive toward perfection. It's up to you, so buy every issue. We've received a strange collection of mail on the Crusaders. Everything from those who enjoyed a good-natured spoof to those who wanted to tear us down for stealing from our competitors. To those of you who enjoyed our little fun poking, we thank you. To the rest of you, please remember the Squadron Sinister from 1969 and ask the question, who copied who? Is it me? Is it you?
Yes, Squadron Sinister featuring Nighthawk. Everyone's, at least my favourite, current obsession.
Indeed, that's why you're wearing a Nighthawk t-shirt right now.
I am. I'm always wearing it for the benefit of our YouTube viewers.
And how many pages of Nighthawk artwork do you own?
Right, okay, let's work this out. I've got 7 pages from the 1998 miniseries. I've got 1 page from Squadron Supreme, which features the 2 versions. I have 1 page from issue 79 of the Defenders, which features them on the phone, but you don't see them. I have 1 page from The Order, which was the continuation of the Eric Larson, Kurt Busiek Defenders. I have 1 page from that, which features them. And I have, from the last Defenders, I have, let me count, 4 pages that feature them, one of which is just dressed as, no, actually, yeah, 4 pages from the last Defenders. So how many is that? I wasn't counting, but quite is.
That was lots.
Yes, I certainly have a Nighthawk collection. Maybe when Peter lets me do our DC characters with the same name as the Defenders, but not actually the Defenders episode, I'll post some of my Defenders art on the socials to show off.
We could do.
Yes, anyway, so yes, we'd better get back to the Freedom Fighters.
Yes. Editorial response continues. We're not sure who our most popular freedom fighter is, but we'd like to know. Here's a popularity poll. Write on a postcard who your favourite freedom fighter is and send it to Freedom Fighters Popularity Poll in care of the address at the bottom of this page. We'll print the results in a future issue. This isn't a contest. It's just for the fun of it. As for D.A. Pearson, he won't be hiding in any shadows any longer. Oh, the spoilers.
Oh, yes.
Yes, spoilers.
Oh, yes. Gosh, that's something to look forward to there, isn't it?
Spoilers from Jack C. Harris. Yes. Next letter says, Dear Editor, you asked us to write, so I'm writing. Freedom Fighters is a good comic, but it could be better. Much better, in fact. First, the quality of the past 2 stories, issue 6 and issue 7, were not up to par with the first 5. I hope this will change with issue 8 and the Crusaders. Now for the subplot. Let me say that I'm glad you have it. Most DC mags have little or none, but the subplot is moving much too slowly. By now we should know exactly what the extent of Phantom Lady's new powers are, as well as the Black Condors and the rest of those who received new powers. The Martha Roberts plot seems to be a good one. Since she works for GBS, she should pop up in Superman, Lois Lane and Jimmy Olsen stories, as she did in the latest Teen Titans.
Oh, Peter's doing an expression. We'll have to go and look for that, won't we? Oh, well. Might be an idea, actually. We could do a really short episode and we quickly recap Mal wearing the Guardian's uniform again and see when Martha Roberts pops up.
Could do.
We could do that, couldn't we? That would give you an easy beat.
I'll have a read. That's fine.
Right.
Letter continues. I also think that guest stars should be appearing to aid the Freedom Fighters and to help them adjust to Earth 1, as the JLA members are doing for Captain Comet. Long live the Freedom Fighters, says James F. Mills from Wadesboro, North Carolina.
Yep, editorial response is very careful here. They say, Jack C. Harris says, subplot, you act as if there's only one. We have, spoiler, the Silver Ghost problem, Martha Roberts' relationship with Dollman and the rest of the FFers, and the burning question of whether or not Uncle Sam will ever get his hat fixed. Moving too slowly? Have you ever tried pedalling uphill with a heavy load? Seriously, we hope we've moved in a direction and at a pace you now find exciting. We think the Freedom Fighters' powers are well defined by now, although we plan to dwell more on those of Black Condor in the near future. Guest stars? If we ever get the group in one place again, spoilers, and if they ever stop globe-trotting long enough to stay put, maybe a guest star or 2 will track them down. JCH, then there's the usual encouragement to write in. Over the page, it's the Daily Planet, and there's some chat there of Mr. Miracle. And that's it for issue 10, but of course we'll be reading issue 10 at some point fairly shortly. So, issues 6 and 7 of the Freedom Fighters. Good fun.
Yes, the disposable fluff, I would say.
I would echo that assertion.
Listeners, would you echo that assertion? Why don't you write to us and let us know? You can email us at theearth2podcast@gmail.com and tell us. Make sure you follow us on social media because we'll put up some lovely bonus material for this and, of course, every single episode that we do on Facebook, Instagram, and Blue Sky. We're at the Earth2 Podcast, and on Twitter, we're at podcast_Earth2, and it's, of course, the number 2 for all of our socials.
If you're enjoying what we're doing, please consider going to wherever it is you receive your podcast and leaving us a positive review. Such things are good for our visibility and all that sort of thing. Or if you're feeling even more generous, you could find your way to our Linktree page and buy Peter the price of a beverage or a comic as he edits the very straightforward, actually, and relatively painless recording of these 2 episodes. It's been okay today. No shouting at all. It's been good. No huffs so far.
Yes, we have more to record.
Yes, on that bombshell. Yes, and it's been a fun episode this week dealing with some proper Golden Age DC heroes again. And another Golden Age DC hero will be guest starring in next week's episode. But what is that episode going to be? Well,
you'll have to tune in and find out. On that bombshell, I've been Peter.
And I've been David. We'll see you in 7 days on
the Earth2 Podcast.
Transmatter Cube activated. Return coordinates set for Earth Prime.
And as the heat blast strikes Condor in the face, he can only exclaim, "Yeah!"
Perfect.
Thank you.
Perfect. Welcome to my world.
Yes. The World of Sound Effects with Peter Watson. World of Sound Effects with Peter Watson. I'd watch that.
Supported.
Supported menswear. Right. It's time to get back on. Open up the Redbubble shop for all these band names we keep coming up with. World of Sound Effects. Anyway, right.
Okay.
He's still acclimatizing, something like that. The demons acclimatize. That was a song by so and so supported menswear. World of Sound Effects with Peter Watson, genius. No, I mean,
album dropping soon.
Yes, I dare you. I dare you. Challenge extended. Hey, talk to Cammy about it because he put all of his self-recorded stuff onto Apple Music last year. Leave that in. That'd be quite funny.
Okay. Hi, Cammy, if you're listening.
Yeah, I doubt you will. Weave it. Hello.